Welcome to the Awakening Podcast. You can find all our episodes on awakeningpodcast.org. You'll find all my 6 podcasts. Scan the QR code or go to rycon.com. If you're looking for virtual assistants, go to va.world. I'm joined by Peter for our lovely monthly call. And for the previous episode, we were talking about he was going to court as a trustee and showing us all the preparation for the file, but it couldn't tell us too much because obviously you have to hold your cards behind you. You don't want to be putting them on the table. So, first of all, welcome, Peter. As always, a pleasure.
Yeah, and a pleasure for me as well. Thank you very much for having me back. I always enjoy it. It's good to have a bit of crack.
No, exactly. Yeah, in this crazy world, we're never short of topics anyway. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's always something interesting happening. That's for sure. So, I've actually been to court now just this month alone twice, as a trustee. The first time, so I can't remember, sorry, that was actually the 23rd of April, that I went into on there, and that was into a magistrate's court, and they wouldn't let us actually go and speak at all. So now, with that, because they wouldn't let us speak, that's actually a breach of equitable principles. So we've now filed a case against the magistrate's court and the council from up Durham, so up north. So we're actually taking both the Durham County Council and the Magistrates Court to court. So that'll be pretty interesting.
And which court are you bringing? And is it just a normal court, or how will you know that you kind of guess they're not looking after their bodies? Because that's the problem with most of the time when you're going into the court.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, what it is whenever you're dealing in council tax, which is what it was, well, it wasn't, but it was touching onto it. What they were doing was wrong. Using the wrong names to try and put liability orders onto, and say, well, do one. I don't care. Do a liability order. Just make sure it's the correct person. But they don't really seem to care what they do. But well, obviously, you're dealing with a magistrate's court, which is an administration court completely, and they've got no legal training. The magistrates don't get legally trained. They don't know what they're doing whatsoever. They do have a legal advisor that's supposed to be legally trained, but how qualified are they? I really do not know. They have got no clue what equity means or even what law means. They have a very strict, very low, threshold of what they're allowed to do on statutory powers. And the statutory powers that they're dealing in here come from the Local Government Finance Act 1992. So it's like literal blinkered vision. And they get told by the legal advisor just on the Local Government Finance Act 1992, nothing else. So it's like, you either going to go A, B, black, white, right, wrong, and that's it. There's no sort of but this happened. Whereas when we are actually dealing in equity is about justice, fairness, using your conscience. And, that's the big difference. And there's a lot of people I'm trying to share this knowledge with. And on my private group, now they're getting it. They're like, now I see what you mean. All right. And they're bringing forward their own cases. One of them about a housing corporation. Okay. With I don't know, 50-50 when you own it and they own the other half, but you pay them rent, however that setup is. But, when they act in an unconscionable manner, they think they can get away with it, which they can in statute. However, in equity, when they act unconscionably, then you can actually claim against them in a court of equity, which would be Chancery down in London, the High Court Division. So, it's widens it open. And yeah, I know that the magistrates are always going to look after each other, and the councils, and they're all in each other's pockets. I'm not saying that they're going to punish the magistrates. I'm not saying that they're going to punish the councils per se. But what you will be able to do is they get your case heard in a fair hearing with, let's just call them real judges that have got knowledge in law, knowledge in equity. And we're seeing wins with them as well. When you get into, and a lot of people don't realize this, when you get into a county court, they still have equitable jurisdiction. It's called a concurrent jurisdiction. Now, they can hear equity and they can invoke equity, but then move it on to the actual Chancery Court. So, but they can still hear and should know and have at least a little bit of experience what equity is to know that they should be passing it up to a higher board than them, So we are getting wins and we are getting recognition. And as soon as you move up to a little bit of a higher court, that's when, you're going to get much more of a fair hearing, rather, it's just, you've got to go through the magistrates to and pass them by and let them do all their silly little tricks, lollipop man from Monday to Thursday and a magistrate on the Friday, absolute, waste of space. But you've got to go through it to get to the proper people,
And are they, when they lose, then are they appealing? Because it's like prosecutors and stuff. Anytime I've had cases, when they lose, they appeal or they go to the next level because they can. They never kind of just throw in the towel when they know they won't win. Is it the same in this, or do they kind of realize, hey, we've been caught, let's walk away?
Well, the way it works is with it, in this case particularly, anyway, I can only really say about that. It's going up to the High Court, so they're going to have a review in the High Court where it gets in front of equitable judges. So they'll be, once you've actually got the case written, this is black and white. This is like, they've breached so many equitable principles as well as their own statute. They've even breaching their own statutory powers, right? Abusing them, ignoring them. So, it would be such a ridiculous miscarriage of any type of justice. It's, I can't see them having any choice. The magistrates can't turn around and say, well, we know we're wrong, but we still want to argue. They ignored everything. They wouldn't even look at our actual bundle that we put in as trustees, completely valid, with a valid trust. Everything was there. And I'm not being funny, but the other case we had just last week when we actually stopped a repossession of someone's home by putting the trust documents in there. So they are valid, real trust documents. They do work. It shows it's a real trust. Stop that repossession. So there's the proof that it's a real trust, a valid trust. The other ones, they just wouldn't read it, and it's like, just that's the ignorance that you have to put up with when you're dealing with councils and magistrates together. The ignorance and the arrogance is literally off the scale. But, like I say, we were in a county court just last week, used obviously it's different details, different body, but there's the trust document that they've had a trust, boom, stop the repossession order. And now that's moving ahead to another court case now. And again, because we are filing against them now, that we will move the entire case down to Chancery because of the unconscionable conduct and actions of the claimant. So that's the difference, when you bring equity into it, which is, let's just say, it's the conscience of common law, whereas common law is the black and white. It's, when I say common law, it's, literally law made by judges. It's the precedent set. It's right or wrong. It's black or white. Did you do it? Did you pay for it? No. Well, you've lost. Right? That's normal. That's okay. Everybody can understand that. But hang on. Where's the but law? Did you pay for it? No, but, right? Whereas in this case, did they pay for the actual loan? No, but because the lender wouldn't allow them to. Right? That is the unconscionable action. You can't break the law to actually win a case. And that's where equity will come into. So you can't be unlawful to actually try and get the better of a statute over somebody else. So you need equity to actually look through the conscience, look through the actual case of it, and find fairness, transparency, and justice.
And with kind of councils, then, are ye kind of going against the kind of corporate entity, the council itself, or do you go for a certain person or the mayor? Do you go for an individual?
Well, we've got two cases going on right now, like I'm talking about there, which, like, I mean, I'm not like any kind of like legal body or advisor or anything like that. I am just working basically as a trustee So, I can't give them any legal advice that I wouldn't want to or try to. But, right, the way it works is on these two cases, one of them is a corporate body. The other one is just well, it's okay. It's the debt company, right? Rather than like the council being like, say, let's call it a government body, if you like, but it's still just a corporation, and you still put the corporation, into court. You file against the corporation, not anyone in the council. You don't do that. You can't put the actual people that work in the council on the actual filing against them, the claim. It's the council you put in, and on the other side, although it is the actions of one person in the actual loan company, or it's a bridge and mortgage company, it's the actual name of the company that you actually file against. They are the person. The company is the person, and vice versa. The person is the company.
Okay. So I have a few things I want to cover today. One was because we've discussed about the TikTok, and I had said that my account it was December actually that they removed it, and I was like, I think it was 9 short of 10,000 followers, and I had over 400,000 views, and they just, I got community guidelines and no way of getting my account back. But I kept kind of writing saying, hey, I want my data, and I never let it go. And this week, your account is back.
Right.
But it's gone down to like 7,000 followers, so I've lost a few followers. But I just posted now today to see will it still get kind of good interaction and everything. But I seen someone else that I used to follow, and I know he got taken off, and he was trying to get people to go on different platforms to follow him. His account must have come back as well. So I'm just curious. It's like strange that they're starting to allow people to have their accounts back out of the blue. I don't know why they're doing that, but it's like there's a few people I'm talking to, and they're all kind of like, I have to tiptoe around what I'm putting out. Even a lot of our stuff, I'd be going through the shorts, and I go, yeah, can't put that one up, can't put that one up, and that's a sad state of affairs. Yet I can see totally horrible shit on all the social media, and just because we discuss something that's totally true, we can't put it up. Even the other day, I was walking in the park, like, when I drop my son off, I like to take a nice walk in the park, and we had a few days of no chemtrail. The first in the whole since this year. There was about 3 or 4 days, beautiful days. Of course, next day, the sky was kind of covered, but the sun was still kind of coming through. And I was just recording. I go, look, this is not. If you have a cloud, you don't see the sun, and this is like, it's reflective and everything. And I got a strike for that one. And it's a sad state of it. I mean, we know freedom of information. We know 100% is true. And even Florida, I don't know you're aware of that, Florida now have banned the geoengineering in chemtrails. But yet, when I'm doing a recording, I get a strike for that. And you have to tiptoe, and I hate that I'm tiptoeing just to try and get the message out.
Yeah, but I mean, is that not like just shows you like you're obviously touching a nerve? So there must be something true, but how ridiculous is it as well? I mean, and they actually say and use things like freedom of speech and things like that. I mean, it's insane. You've got in England, you've got people getting put in prison for literally 3 years and stuff like that just for a Facebook post. It's crazy. It's insane. But you don't toe the line in any way at all. They're gonna go for you, and the most ridiculous things. It's crazy, and it's a shame. You can't even just go and have a normal conversation. And it is what it is. But
And on the social media, because I know this happens a lot in the UK, but I just heard of a case today, where there was foreigners, a girl that was apparently 12 or 13 was beating the crap out of a 6-year-old child, and the mother was sitting down with the baby, and then the mother of that 12-year-old started, when she tried to intervene, started beating her up. And the husband, so they had to go to the hospital. The husband put a picture out, and the police came and took his phone, and he was the one that was guilty because he was trying to expose the people that assaulted his wife and child. And I know that happens in the UK, and they come to you, the cops come to you, and like, they're just minions. They do what they're told and everything. But how do we protect ourselves with that? I know you don't sign anything, but is there anything that we can be using to get them to back off when they think that they have total control over us?
But the thing is, though, that they're all stepping outside of their actual oath anyway. So if anybody was coming, the first thing is complete silence, and that's the way it is. And I don't care who it is or what they're doing, right? You don't answer questions. And if they're actually, the thing is to be, you start asking questions and asking them about their oath. Do they know about their oath? Can they repeat their oath to you? And that type of thing, because they're totally bang out of order, and they're not there. They've never been there to protect the people, right? Let's not get that mistake. But they've just stopped pretending now, I think. Whereas before, they would say, well, we're there to protect the people, because it's got written on the sides of some of the police cars anyway, proud to protect. They're not talking about you, right? It's the bosses that they're actually protecting, the ones that are really in charge, so that, like, recently, I don't know if you've heard of them, as a band from Belfast called Kneecap.
Yeah.
And they've actually just, the UK have issued an arrest warrant against one of them for because he had a different type of scarf on, or I think it was a scarf, but it might have been a t-shirt, but something like that. For what? Well, that is what we class as a terrorist organization. I mean, what they're doing is they're actually putting it out, supporting the Palestinians is what they're doing. So you're not allowed to wear those t-shirts, scarves, flags, or anything like that. And they've actually put an arrest warrant out for him because they did a huge big concert somewhere, and they had loads of flags on, and they were actually telling the truth about what is going on. And that's why they're being targeted. They're only young lads, but and the thing is, the video that they've got of him wearing whatever it is that he's got was about 2 or 3 years ago, not now. So they've actually only started to try and pull them apart now, that they've actually got popular and they're having some traction. So people are actually paying attention. So they don't want people seeing what's going on when they don't want them, looking at social media. That is the one good thing of, you can get some good information out on social media about what's going on in certain places where they think they can just commit genocide and not get any problems about it and do whatever they want, But yeah, just young lads on a band there, but gonna go and get arrested. Apparently, I don't know how they would do it. I don't know. I don't think that they're actually where they're supposed to be, like where they live or where they've come from, So if it's not in UK territory, I think I'd be staying out of it if I was him, Cross the border and stay down in Dublin or something. Don't go north again.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how. Is that a good thing with the way the Irish government is? I'm not sure if you heard the story. I've just heard, there's another one this week, that there was a girl from the UK, I bet, that was in Turkey, and she got ill, and they basically wouldn't let the husband in, 2 young kids, 5 and 7 or something like that. And in the end, she died. And like you just listen to the people talking about it was a trauma, but they wanted to kind of cremate the body, and they were like, going, are you going to sue us now? When she got the body, they got the body back, they had removed the heart. And why I'm making a point to this is, I know they're bringing in things, and it's usually a lot of stuff kind of gets connected in Ireland, and I say this is going to be across Europe as well. Your organ donating now is, you don't have a choice, you have to opt out, and they're pushing that. And I mean, I know there's a big black market and everything. I mean, that is so weird that something like that happened. They just take out the heart of somebody. So it looks like it was she was murdered. Because I mean, why else would you do that? This should never happen. But the fact that they're pushing the organ thing, I don't know, is it going to be in the UK as well? But I heard about it in Ireland, that you kind of have to opt out, which is kind of pathetic. And I mean, we kind of grew up thinking, oh, that's a good thing to have the organ. But what I've heard is, when somebody dies, that the organs die. So I don't know how true it is, because I've no way of proving these things, that when somebody is actually in an accident or something like that, they can't take out the organs and a couple of hours later put it into somebody else, that they're normally keeping them alive, and then they take the organs out for... so when things like that happen, it's like, I don't trust any of them, because the powers that be will be looking at your organs. And I don't know, is that something in the UK, or have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, no, it is now that you're automatically opted in, and it's you who has to actually opt out to. But I mean, even if you did, are they going to care?
Exactly. Like, do you get a tattoo? No, fucking, I'm not an organ. They don't care. Like,
Yeah. And if you're in a state where, as in, I mean, a state like, unconscious or anything like that, and you're 100% correct what you're saying there. If your body stops, dies, switches off, then so do all of your organs. So they can't take a heart, like just as an example, because that's what you've just mentioned, out of a dead body and put it into someone that's dead. It's already dead. It's too late. So you have to be alive when they take that heart out to transplant it into another human body. So you're alive. No matter what they say to you, right? It's just not true. So that body is alive. That man or woman is alive, or child is alive when they actually take whatever it is that they want. So, your heart, your liver. So, it's just bear that in mind. It's they can't take dead organs and try and transplant them into a living body. They have to be living organs coming out of the living body, right, to go into another living body.
I remember, I don't know what age it would have been, maybe 15, that the teacher that we had, the history teacher, was saying that his mother was on a life support and they were telling him to kind of pull the plug on her. And they kind of decided not to. And she came back and he said, she's still alive 15 years later or something like that. And I hear of a lot of cases where they come along and they go, oh, they're brain dead and everything. And it's like, we kind of take the information they give us as gospel. And like a kind of on a tangent to that, there was one guy that I know here, and they were told during the pregnancy that the child would be Down syndrome, and if they wanted to terminate it, and they decided, no, we go ahead. And the child wasn't Down syndrome, it was normal. And like, how many times we just take it what they tell us. And I don't know, I'm terrified of going to hospitals because I've seen it all over the world. Like, they're killing machines, and you can't trust them. You can't trust the police, you can't trust the hospitals, which is a sad state of affairs.
It is, yeah, yeah. I mean, you've got to make sure you rely 100%, on yourself. I mean, I nearly said something like as a joke, like saying that you make sure that you drink plenty beer and everything, make sure they wouldn't want your organs, but but that is just joking, people. Come on, don't sacrifice me for that one. But the in reality, where it is, that's why you've got. I was talking about the health centers, our health centers, where you have the oxygen chambers, where you have like the telling you how to drink the oxygenated, hydrogenated water, where you've got the frequency healing in the machines. You sit in the machines which give you frequency healing. That's what we need to be looking at doing and relying upon, and staying away from these hospitals, which are literally just death squads, really, aren't they? You don't want to go anywhere near them. So, what I actually do quite a lot of that type of healing, and like go in oxygen chambers, and you get saturated in oxygen, which obviously your body needs. So it's quite simple and to think about that. Then obviously the water as well, where it's hydrogenated and it's living water. It's got the ions correct, because that's how your body functions. So, and a lot of people say, well, how do you know it works? Well, it's designed to not make you ill, and I'm not ill. So as in the other ways, like the food that they give you, the food that they promote, the health that they promote, which is not health, and then even health systems that they have in the hospitals are all just death machines, everything. So you got to try and like completely change the way that you actually live, stay away from anything that they tell you to do, right? So like any type of, like, if there's an advert on, not that I watch television, but if there's an advert on whatever and it comes up there, that's basically just put a big no above it and saying no McDonald's, no KFC, and that's going to make it doesn't matter, even the restaurants, no going into any fast food. Do you know what I mean? It's just disgusting. Try and just eat your own stuff all the time, and try to get yourself an allotment or a bit of land like what we have, and get into there and start growing your own food, so you've got your own vegetables and your own fruit, if that's possible, or look into going into like the Good Food Project up in Scotland. and try looking at places like that are actually looking to grow proper produce rather than all of the completely altered state of affairs, that they're allowed to go into supermarkets to poison you with, all the like pesticides, everything just completely soaked and saturated in poisons. So if it's killing everything else, what do you think it's going to do to you when you're eating it?
Yeah.
Might not do it
Into the
straight away.
water table as well. Like, because a lot of people, they do Roundup and their neighbor could have a well, and they don't realize that's going into the water system.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that Roundup, and it's one of the most lethal, disgusting things in the world. But I mean, what are they always advertising it to actually go and kill as well? All right, they always show you the dandelion as if the dandelion is like a beast and it's going to come and destroy you and kill you. It's one of the most healthy herbal plants that you can actually have in the planet. There isn't anything that's on a dandelion that's not edible and that's not actually good for you. So that's why they want you to kill dandelions, because they don't want you realizing that you can be eating all of them and that they're really good for your health. Yeah, for everything from every single organ that you've got, they're good for. And that Roundup, as they're showing you, is it's like some kind of evil monster that they need to kill the dandelion with this Roundup hero. And it's got to be one of the most toxic liquid substances that's known to man.
And we've touched on water on a few episodes, and I'm seeing this girl. She kind of talks similar, a lot of stuff, kind of sovereignty and things like that, and helping people dealing with bailiffs and stuff like that. But she was doing a live with I don't know, was it her sister or whatever, and they had all the water bottles and all the different things in the UK, and the amount of gum, whatever, the way sometimes you can do like electrodes. I don't know how it's done. I've got a device that actually tells you how many particles, but they had the thing that going, and you see the gunk in a lot of these, and a lot of them are the high-end water that people buy thinking it's good, and the majority of it is so toxic, and it's insane that that's allowed, because people going to the gym, I see that, like, I go to the gym and they're constantly trying to sell you the water, like in this water in plastic bottle, and it's the gunk, like, and people are on the treadmill or whatever they're doing, and they're just gulking down this stuff, and they'd be better off actually staying at home instead of drinking the toxins. But I mean, I presume you've seen that. Is it an electrode, or how is it actually that they do that they get all the gunk in the end and see what it really is?
I know exactly what you mean, yeah, and I've got the same type of device that you're talking about. It'll tell you how many sort of like particles there are, how toxic the water is, So we filter obviously everything, before we get anywhere near it. But I know I've seen people do it, and they have like the electrodes that put in. Obviously, what they're doing is they're putting some kind of electricity through it, so it'll divide the particles and show you what toxins are left in. It is just all black goo and gunk, which is what they're drinking. But the whole thing as well, I was listening to I can't remember his name now, but he was talking about the way that they're actually poisoning your body with fresh water, even if it was just fresh water. And he's talking about your body, how yes, it's water, but it's not just water, it's electrolyte water. So if you're flooding your body with water, what they've been saying now, and if you watch people running down the street, running, jogging, right, they've either got a strap thing on them, they've got a tube coming up to drink it, or they're carrying water. They never used to do that. I used to, like, when I was fighting, I would be running 10, 11 miles, 6 days a week. I never had a single bottle of water with me. I'd be running up and down sand dunes and sprinting up hills and, you know what I mean, trying to push myself. I didn't stop to have a drink or take a bottle of water with me. You know what I mean? It's like when I get back, we would have like the actual crystals to put in to fill that water so that we could get like proper electrolytes to get the body returning to normal, because you're losing the salt and this out of your sweat, etc. So you need to replace the actual electrolytes, not just water. Water dilutes the electrolytes. Water, if you're just drinking, and what is it, 6 pints a day or something like that they're supposed to be like telling you to drink now, it just dilutes your body. So even when you think, wow, that sounds healthy, I should be drinking more water, I should be more hydrated, sounds normal, doesn't it? It actually sounds sensible. But the way that they actually do it is not only, even if it wasn't as toxic like those bottles of water you're talking about, it's still not good for you, because you're diluting your electrolytes rather than actually building up the health of your body. So it's like a minefield, when anything, I think if it's on mainstream media, don't do it. I think that's probably the safest bet.
And you had mentioned about the Celtic Sea Salt, and I remember before saying, "Oh, it was very expensive, but you guide me in the right direction, and I'm able to get." And you put the pinch under your tongue. You don't crave water when you do that. I don't know, is it the same with you? But it's like, as you say, it's like you get the right minerals, and that you're not gasping. Let's say.
Yeah, that's exactly it, because it's not about like, oh, you feel, if it's getting hot and sweaty or you talk a lot, right? It's always good to like after the show, get a drink of water, like for your throat and everything. But, we now put the same thing, little tiny little pinch, couple of little rocks of the Celtic sea salt, and I put it into our vortex machine. So we filter the water, then we take the water out and we put it into the vortex machine, which spins, and that gets the negative ions in, which will actually help your body correctly. And we just put a couple of rocks of the sea salt, Celtic sea salt in there. That gets the correct amount of minerals in. So you can just have like, that in everything else, like sips of water or whatever it is. Even the dogs get this. And then after we do that, we also hydrogenated in the hydrogen machine as well. They're only little. It only just looks like a bottle of a sports bottle water. So you don't take up massive space. And, use that. And then, that there itself with the actual Celtic sea salt in, that's easier. Because some people don't like to put it under the tongue. So just do it that. You can't even taste it, But if you can get it under the tongue, it's just simple. Just do that. But it's far better for it because you balance your body out.
Yeah. So, as always, I always mention how kind of generous you are with all the different stuff that you've got on your school.com and different things. So, like one of the ones, there was like a lot of the books and different things. So, Snells, Snell's equity. You might let people know, what's Snell's equity?
Yeah, well, equity, that is, and that's what I'm trying to sort of like share a lot of knowledge on there, which is a body of law of itself. So we're in a common law jurisdiction. Some of the European countries are not in common law, they're in civil law. But if you're in, anywhere, England, Wales, Scotland, Islands, United States, Canada, anything like that, they are in a common law jurisdiction. And what that means is that you have two bodies of law that run together. You have common law and equity. And that's what we were talking about before, whereas you have the equity, which is the conscience of law, really. So whereas you've got a common law, call it statute, whatever it is, it's very solid, black and white, right and wrong. Did you do it? Yes, right, you're guilty, that's it. Whereas the actual equity will look at what they call substance rather than form. What was really meant to happen and what actually were you trying to do, rather than, well, I had to actually do something wrong to get a right. So they'll look at the actual form of it. Snells itself is a fantastic resource. So if you want to learn a little bit more about equity, get that book. I'm sure you can get, what do you call them? Downloads of it now, PDFs. And so you can get it on there, which is not going to cost you a lot of money. Or what I do with all of mine is I go to secondhand books and secondhand bookshops, and I get the all of them, the law books. I'm not saying that they're free or anything like that, but you can get them for a lot less money, and they're really handy to have. And that book itself, Snells, is like the Bible for like barristers and judges when it comes down to dealing with their equitable causes and how to actually look at it through justice, because that's what it really is. It's fairness, transparency, and justice. That's, when you look at equity compared to common law, the statute, So definitely, if you can get a hold of that, but we've actually got it now in the Checkmate the Matrix, in one of the I think in the classrooms, or one of the resource parts. So you can go in and have a look at that, and then you learn, if you'll get to see your own case and fit your own case into there. If something's gone wrong and you're saying that's not justice, that's not right, I shouldn't be getting like punished for something that I haven't done anything wrong. There could be a chance that you could look at it through equitable eyes. and look at it through Snells equity and find out that there's a way that you can actually get relief, rather than leaving it with the acts and statutes of common law, and where it's like yes, no, right, wrong, you didn't do it, so you're in trouble, and that's it. You know, on the conscience side, going into equity, and that's why we've got Snells and the likes of. But Snells is a fantastic book, a fantastic resource. I recommend that to everyone.
And the thing is, I mean, I totally agree with you having the physical book, because it's great, you know, having access, and you can go along, and if you have a digital copy and you're looking at something in a Word, but the problem is when you're preparing stuff, if you've got stuff highlighted or little, you know, tags on the, you go through it, or if any time with myself, if I'm reading anything digital, I can be getting into it and then I get sidetracked and then it's gone, and then the computer resets itself and you never go back to it. Whereas when I have a physical book, it's put somewhere till it gets done, and then it's like stuff like that now would be get all highlighted and everything, where I see stuff that's important, and then when I need it, you go back and you can review it fast instead of having to go through the whole thing again on a digital copy.
Yeah, oh, most definitely. You know, and anything like that. So, like, we've got these two. These are really good. Which you can see, obviously, I've got like tags in. You know, when we're actually looking up things and highlighting things. That one there is like Black's Law Dictionary. Okay, but this is the 6th edition. Really, you don't want anything older than the 6th edition, because that is far more equitable book. Right. Whereas, I mean, why would they have more than one edition? It's because they keep changing the meaning of the words, because they're making it up. Right. And this one here as well, Burton's Legal Thesaurus. And that one there's the 4th edition. You can't get that in a PDF. Can't get it. We've tried for years now. So you have to, but I mean, no, I can't remember how much this. And again, you've got like, you know, put it in there, and it tells you really what some of the words mean. And this one's really good because it gives you the Latin descriptions as well. Right. And then when you get into the Latin descriptions and it tells you that, and then you seem to think, do you know what? Now I realize why they've done something, because you can actually see it in the Latin description, whereas they've taken it out of the more modern books, because they don't want you actually knowing what those words really mean. You know, when they say it's mandatory, you know, everybody thinks you must do it, you know, and it's just a request. It's a request, and there's nothing has like the power of law unless you consent to that request.
The same with summons, isn't it? We summons you to court. That's not, you don't have to do it either. Like, because I remember looking at that before, like that was some similar with the summons.
Yeah, you know, and the good thing is, right, so say that for summons on this one, the Burton's one, right? So if we just go and look at it, it doesn't always like give you everything, but you know, you can go in and pick one of the words like that. Summon is there, all right, and it's alphabetical. So as long as you know your alphabet, you're okay. If I've gone wrong there.
Well, like, I don't know, the future generations, like say, they'll struggle with the alphabet.
Well, you don't need it, do you? It's all of the so let's just go to ST, SC, SUC. Let's see if we can find it then. Summons there. Superfluous. Wow. So it's got to be under there between that. So I need my glasses on. Summarization. Summary. Summons. All right. So if you're looking at it there, when they say it, first of all, they'll tell you what was in the verb, and then they'll tell you what it is in the actual noun. And on this one, unfortunately, on the summons, they haven't actually got a Latin actual explanation of it. But yeah, that's a shame. There you go. But it's a calling to court onto there. A commandment, it says it's a commandment or a direction. Yeah. Notification. Official order to appear. Request. There we go. It's a request.
Yeah.
So it's written down.
So it's not a demand, it's a request. So
Yeah.
you can refuse a request. I know
Most
there's yeah.
But on there as well, when you look and you know, custom, when you actually look, custom overrides common law. That's in this book. It tells you. So if you go and have a look at it. So if you ever have a custom, right? Because it's different. Now, if you look at it when they say, and they're doing, like the king and queens are saying these things, and they say, oh, the customs and laws. So customs and laws, which means there's two separate things. But it tells you in this book here, if there's a custom, custom overrides common law. So if they have a custom, what they're going to do is that custom, it doesn't matter what the actual law says, will do what the custom would tells us to do, and what that was doing before any law was made. Remember, in law, right, when they're talking about that, common law, it's man-made law. So, you know, like anything to do with a rule or a regulation, or like don't park there, that's the, you know what I mean? So it's not really law, right? As in, the only real law is the creator's law, you know, thou shalt not kill, and, you know, do no harm. That's it. That's basically it.
I touched on it on because I do a weekly call with my Dutch friend, and one of the things that I came across, and I'm not sure if you've heard of it, the photocopiers. So a lot of the time, you know, especially putting all these different things together. I mean, now you have the printer, but a lot of times people are going in getting all this stuff photocopied and everything. Sometimes we photocopy your passports, driving license, tax documents, and all that. It takes a record of everything. So there's a hard drive in the photocopier. And a lot of the time, they then sell them on when they're getting the newer model or whatever. And they're selling them for like $300 or something like that. And sometimes they're selling a load of them off. And it was even from police stations, criminal records, sex cases, hospitals, medical records, and everything. I mean, did you know that? That there's a record? Yeah. And I reckon the newer ones, those probably done via Wi-Fi. And like, why would you even build that in? Like, that is scary. I mean, we used photocopiers for years. I mean, obviously when I was working in Ireland, but even when I had my own business there, when I had a lot of people, we were copying loads of stuff. I never, ever knew that was, and it just shows the things that go on in life. And like, that's a dangerous one, because all of your ID is actually out there and someone can have access to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, like a lot of people like can't really get to grips with why did they do this ID fraud? How did they get my ID? And now they've made, like, you know, a credit card with it or a loan with it. You know, well, it probably is from places like that and from things like that. It's just so easy. But if you think about it, like, how could they actually make a machine like a photocopier without it being a computer? So obviously it's going to have some kind of programming, and it's just so easy to slip a memory in there, which is probably the size of a pen nib, you know, and it would like store gazillions of records that you're putting on there. So, you know, what chance have we got trying to keep? That's why, you know, you got to try and keep as private as possible. We had a guy come on to our live event, Checkmate the Matrix in Newcastle back in February, and the stuff that he was teaching on people how to stay private on your phone, on your laptops, the amount of programs that are on there. As soon as you press that on button, you are getting attacked by literally thousands upon thousands of programs. And, you know, he was showing you how to stay out, and anything to do with Windows, you know, and mind, you know, he's saying it's not easy, but you have to learn how to use all of these, like, you know, slower programs. But what they're trying to do, and if you look at it, everything is the same thing. Make it easy, right? So that everybody wants easy. Nobody wants to put effort into it and have to go through and learn a program, you know, whereas you've got to do a little bit more typing and set something up, but it's much more secure and safer the way he does it. And the way that he was teaching was great. And there was people that their jaws were hitting the floor, like when they realized what they've been doing, like, you know, and what they're giving away, data wise and everything like that on anything, you know. But the thing is though, right, they all do it. You see them queuing up at the supermarket. Instead of getting the wallet out, right, they got the phone and you go bing, and they've paid for whatever they've paid for, you know, everywhere. Not any shop that can do it. I just seen someone do it in the bakers, my local bakers. Just this morning, I've gone like pick up some freshly baked bread because they don't put any nasties in. It is just there. You've got to eat it within a day, right? But there he was, boom, did it on. Well, we're trying to use cash and they're using a phone to actually do it. So how much data are they giving away every time they use that to pay for something?
And
Right?
I
It's
don't know,
private.
there was a case, I think we might have discussed it, but there was the loyalty cards. The tax authorities came after somebody because they were like, where did you get the money for whatever supermarket that he was using his loyalty card? So the same thing with this, like, you know, because sometimes a lot of people, they're making money and they're not declaring or whatever, whether you should be paying anything, not, I don't think you should, but they decide they want it. And sometimes the cash is kind of a lot better. They're using their card. They're going, hey, how come you're able to spend so much money? And they show me where you've got this. And then they're kind of going, yeah, we want our cut out of that, plus penalties, plus interest. And people don't realize that the whole lot is traceable.
But you see, the thing is as well, and I've been talking about this a lot, and there's more and more shops now. And it's like, I can't remember that, but there's two of them that are similar in England anyway, Lidl and Aldi. I'm not sure which one it is, but they're talking about now using facial recognition software in the shops to protect the staff, right? I mean, and this is what I'm saying. This is why we were teaching and sharing knowledge on how to use GDPR against these people. And yeah, you can do it yourself. Me and you could walk in, right? And we could actually hold them to account. But we may or may not like get some kind of payback for that compensation if they don't do the SAR properly, if they don't give us our data properly. But it's not about an individual effort, right? What I was saying is that you need to get organized. If you can do something like a march down London or something, and surely you can get like groups of people, you know, stand in the park. They did all that. Why aren't those groups of people starting to do something actually productive to actually tackle this facial recognition that is, it's not even slow anymore, right? It's more and more advancing into the actual shops, which ties in with what you're talking about, the loyalty cards or the store cards or whatever it is. Every time that you go in and you do anything or say anything, have you got this card? Have you got that card? You know, all they're doing is buying your, or selling, sorry, your data. Get that card, you have to fill in this, that, what, you know, what's your name, what's your address, you know, inside leg measurement, how old are you, what weight are you? And then as soon as you're using it as well, they know everything you've just bought, like you've said. They know your age, they know where you live, they know like your religion, they know everything about you and what you've bought, and they'll be selling all of that information. And then they'll know everything about what you've bought. Like if they've got a tax authority wants to ask me, well, how did you get all those things that you bought there? Where'd you get the money for that? You know, why would you want to keep telling people? You know, but then on top of that, like it's all recorded as well, visually. That's why you should be challenging them all the time. And like I say, not just you on your own, get into groups. We've actually got a whole series of paper SARs, right? Subject access requests. Now, GDPR is so powerful. You can, under Article 15 on GDPR, you are allowed to request all of the data that any corporation has on you, including the video image of you when you just walked in. So you're walking into any shop, any supermarket, any shopping center, indoor shopping center, and they're actually got any video data review at all. Say, well, I want to request my data that you've took. So they are now under a legal obligation to supply that data within a calendar month. And a verbal request has exactly the same legal duty as the written one. So we've actually got written backup ones that we have that we say, if you go into the shop, ask the shop, right? And then they've got a month from that time to actually then go and supply that data. And if they haven't, then they've actually breached your data. So then you can start like proceedings against them, a claim against them for the breach of GDPR, breach of your private data. So if you had, say, 20 friends, and every half an hour you went in, then your friend went in, then the next friend went in, and you kept doing this constantly, that is going to have an effect on them, because administratively wise, it's going to be a nightmare. All that administration, having to do all these SERs. What I think is hilarious, and we're getting it more and more and more now, the wins we are getting are more and more and more now against all of these debt collectors. but they're getting now reports and complaints, right, from debt collectors, from ICO. The amount of people that are asking for the data now is phenomenal compared to what was a couple of years ago. So hopefully that's got something to do with me. I hope so, right? Because I'm telling people all the time, you've got to be looking after your rights. You've got to be asking for your data. And this is one of those scenarios. You should be asking for it inside the supermarkets or the shopping centers or whatever it is that they're actually, these ones that have got the store cards. Stop using the store cards. If they can afford to give you 20% off because you got a store card, then they can afford to give you 20% off anyway. Right? So don't get the store card. Fuck them. Right? Don't give them a store card. Don't give them all your details and then start asking for all the data when you walk in and there's this giant image of you on a screen above the bloody door. Right? That's when you want to be asking for you and all of your friends, one after the other, next half hour, next half hour, next half hour. Put pressure on them. How long do you think it's going to be when they start losing thousands, right? Because they can't cope with the administration of replying to all of these SARs. And, you know, it is vitally important. If you want to be protected and talking about, oh, I'm going to protect my privacy, protect my children, what's it going to be like in 20 years' time for your children, your grandchildren, if we don't start sticking up for our privacy now? They're going to be strip searching. People are going into the shops, right? I mean, now that one of them, again, them supermarkets, they were actually searching every single customer leaving. That is a tort. You could be putting them like massively into trouble. Like, but that is, as soon as they stop you and say, oh, I need to search your bags, that's a tort, because that now is classed. Once you have that receipt, that is private property. You are not allowed to touch my private property. And to try and actually do that to me is a tort, which is a harm in law. Therefore, right, you are going to be personally liable and the actual shop itself is going to be personally liable. Same thing. If you actually had all your friends there and as soon as they stop you to search, use that, right? This is a tort now. I need your name and address because we're going to prosecute you, right? How long do you think it's going to be before they stop that nonsense? Yeah, I mean, what they're saying is, look, everyone in the world's a criminal, so you have to prove you're not. So you're all thieving bastards, right? So you're going to show us your basket that you haven't been a thieving bastard this time that you've been in. But it is, isn't it? That's exactly
No,
what
it's terrible. And I'm just curious because what happens in Poland a lot is, you know, I'd get the shopping, and I'm always with my son. You know, he's 11 now. And what I do is I bring in the bags, you know, the bags, that's the life bags, whatever you call them. So then I put them in the trolley, ready to kind of segregate, you know, like that. I put the frozen stuff and the different things. And so many times they're like, lift your bag there, as if I'm robbing something. And it pisses me off. Like, you know, like, I'm just wondering, that's similar, isn't it? I mean, that's like accusing me of being a thief without any proof of it.
of course.
And I don't know, have you any case on a situation like that, but it really annoys me. And I let them know as well. Like I said, do I look like a thief and stuff like that? And they're just looking stupid at me. Whereas most people just do it, but I always bark back at them. But unfortunately, yeah, you don't get your shopping unless you kind of do it.
Yeah, well, exactly that, you know, which is, again, another reason why we need to be standing up as much as possible against these supermarkets. But this is, again, going back to, like, let's make it simple for people. How do you control people? You make their lives simple, right? Now, that might sound crazy, but, right, if you actually say, well, look, we've got a supermarket. You walk into that supermarket, you can tell me something you can't find in there, right? So, right, somebody says, well, when I was a kid, right, we used to go and get dragged around the shops on a Saturday morning, right, with your mother, and you know, and you all had to be like holding on to the buggy if they had a buggy or a pram or whatever it is. Keep your hands on there, don't get lost, don't go anywhere. And you would go to the butcher, right? Although we wouldn't because my dad was a but you know what I mean. So you'd go to the butcher, then you'd go to the baker, then you would go to the next shop that you needed, the grocery. You'd get, so one shop you'd get your meat from, the next one you get your bread from or whatever it was, then the next one you'll get your vegetables from. That is the way that it used to work, right? Now you can do it. You could probably buy a bloody car in there, right? You can get anything you want in these supermarkets. I've seen them there. You can go in, there's people doing all the shopping, right? They're getting their hair done, they're getting their nails done. They've actually got a gym inside of them as well now, right? They've got key cutting, they've got there is just nothing that you cannot get. but then they're controlling everything, aren't they? They've put it all in one. They can stop it at any split second they want. They can switch it off. They can stop the actual supply to it, stop all the supplies getting to that supermarket. But they can close down the supermarket. Look at lockdown. What do they do? Shut all the supermarkets. Then what? You know, I point blank refused to go to anywhere near any of them. But they seen people queuing from the door, right? 6 feet apart. And then there's the next one. Then and there's a, like, as if you can't, you know, haven't got the sense to get a good average. There's 2 pairs of feet on the fucking floor that you got to stand on the spot, right? And then behind you another 6 feet, and there's somebody there, all the way around the car park, all the way. It must have been about a mile long, waiting to go queuing to go into you sad bastards, you know, like, and you're all standing there complying like a big long line of sheep. That's just complete control. And why they want to all go into there? Because everything's there. All right, so it's just that simplicity. They've made life simple, right? So that, like, it's like anytime they want to stop it and control, boom, it's gone. Which is miraculously and kind of like very conveniently now you've got like all of these outages going across Europe, or all the electricity's getting switched off. Yeah, well, that's not coincidence. We're going to tell you when we're going to control you, when we're going to switch your power on, when we're going to switch your power off. So, you know, and then they laugh at people that are like self-sufficient, that have got, you know, their battery packs when they're going to, like, you know, probably have 2 or 3 days of their own power before they got to worry about any outages, or they've got their own fuel that they've been working with, and their own food stockpiles and everything like that, you know, and they're all stupid, apparently. But there you go. So it's just simplicity.
I covered that one as well, and I had a list of all the different things that they were saying. It was a solar flare, it was this, it was that. All the big energy companies had all this. Like, if you're an energy company and you don't know why this is, it's orchestrated. The whole lot's orchestrated. But you just say there's a few different countries, so they came out and said, no, it's not a solar flare. Oh, it's not this, it's not that. And then they were saying that Spain had become self-sufficient with alternative energy, and that's why it was done, because it was like the day before, the same day. So it was kind of like letting them know, hey, you're not going doing this. But the fact that there was no answer to come out and say why this was, just tells you it was all orchestrated.
Of course. I mean, anything like that is just full organization, isn't it? And the biggest and scariest one, you know, of all is like 2020, you know, and how it lasted for, you know, and every country said exactly the same thing, and they can't agree on the color of shite, right? But like now, all of a sudden, they can agree with it. There's deadly virus and the whole world will shut down, and you know, you're not allowed to like see a granny until after they're dead. It's just insanity. And you know, that's probably a wrong thing to say. You'll not get that one on TikTok, but there we go. You know, but it's a fact though, isn't it? You know, and everybody, well, not everybody, you know, but like, you know, they're seeing all the same people that queued a mile around the bloody car park, or like let a granny die without going to see them. And you know, I even had somebody around here I've seen them had the Christmas dinner. Like, I'm in the north of England, you know what I mean? Absolutely freezing. They had the Christmas dinner, right, out in the street. In the street, right? I mean, it was freezing. Right, they're all wrapped up, like you know, hoods up under there, like eating this food. It's you're nuts. Because I can't remember why.
I think that was, you weren't allowed to have more than 6 people in your house, so it was probably
like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And then they come out and they say, we never made you do these things. So they're coming out in all the different countries. Oh, we never made you do that. And yet we're telling them that from the start, and people are attacking us for giving the information.
I know.
They're just already confirming it. So but yet they'll do it again tomorrow for avian flu, and they'll all line up again. And like, there's one now, I'm not sure, because they were coming out loads of media about, say, Biden. Oh, he's got cancer, and he's had cancer for a while and everything. And we heard that, you know, choppy fingers, sausage fingers, Charles as well, so-called, had cancer and everything. And I'm saying, like, this is all orchestrated for their jab that they've created, which is supposed to protect you for 15. And yet people will queue up. It's all a game. And yet they'll queue up thinking that this is going to help them. But what it will actually do is it will give you the cancer instead of actually. And I don't know, you blue in the face trying to explain it to people, but the propaganda and brainwashing is so good that they kind of look at us, put the tinfoil hat back on, and we've been right so many times. Like, say, how many times, like, I'm talking about chemtrails for ages, and the amount of times people said, no, you're batshit crazy. I go, well, how come they're actually saying it in the Senate and they're banning it in different countries and there's freedom of information showing it? And then nothing. Like, they can't retaliate to that, but yet they'll still have an argument the next day with somebody else. And it's weird how society has gone that way.
Yeah, just talking about that, funnily enough, right? Janine showed me a little clip the other day that must have come on her Instagram or whatever it was. And it's an old TV program from the 1970s, right? So when I was at school, and early 1970, I think it was 1974, something like that, was called John Craven's Newsround. Right? There's this guy called John Craven, and it was on a children's program, but he would tell you in what there must have been language simple enough that a child would want to watch a news program, because usually you don't want to watch the news, you watch, Magic Roundabout and then get out the room, and it was John Craven's Newsround from 1970 something, early, right, 74, 75, something like that. And they were talking about cloud seeding and how they're actually using this geoengineering to make rain. This was in the 70s, and they're saying that we're stupid for telling them about it now, and they don't do it, right? So who is the stupid one then? It's, it's just, that these NPCs, they're just they're complete compliant. They don't question anything. If I'm told to like stick my head in that bucket of water for an hour, I'm going to do it because it must be good for me because the government said so. Oh, okay then. Well, how comes you're all dying of drowning to death then? Well, there must be something wrong with that water. I'll try a different bucket. It's the insanity is luckily it's not infectious to me, but it's definitely infectious around the vast majority of soulless greys. We call them greys because there's just nothing in them. There's no color in them. There's no life in them. Just like follow the line, do what you're told. Little sheeple, go and queue your mile long there, and scream and cry because McDonald's gets shut down, but don't go for a run. Madness.
Yeah. And because like you're entrepreneurial, you've had the gym and different things that you've been doing, and with accounts, because it's curious on this, because sometimes we kind of have similar, based on our own different research. I've had about 20 different companies in 5 different countries, and what I found is they never ever tell you how to reduce your tax bill, and I'm convinced that they are actually like work for the revenue, or they're getting a kickback or something like that, because there's no way, because it shouldn't really matter to them. It would be in their interest to make sure that your tax bill is low as possible. But every time that I've reduced my tax bill was my own system by going, hey, can I do this? They never once. I changed accountants so many times, never once. And I've like when I say this to people, they say, yeah, same. Like, I just curious your thoughts on that one. That do you think is it possible that they're actually getting a kickback from the revenue for declaring everything?
Well, I mean, they're just, again, I think you would have to be a certain type of being to be an accountant, wouldn't you, really? So there's no way in the world that you will be an entrepreneurial accountant, would you? You wouldn't be, that type. You are a grey. You are an NPC, a sheeple, a follower. You are a compliant little do-gooder Jobsworth. And that's the way, that type where you're like less adventurous than say, like exactly the same what I've just described, but you're a little bit more adventurous or a little bit more of a bully and a narcissist, then you're going to go in and join the police force, right? But if you haven't got like that bullying side of you, you're going to be an accountant. So, you're just going to do exactly what you're told, and you can't do that. They are literally unpaid tax collectors, nothing more, nothing less. And that's what they do. If you can pay them fortunes, right? how many of them are going to say, do you know what? If you actually do a private trust and move offshore, and then you have like this country, you can actually have your company in there, but it'll actually pay and be owned by this company over here because you have a private trust over here and your bank account's in a different country. How many of them tell you that? You know, and how many, if you actually explained that to them, they would just go white. And, oh, you can't do that. That means that they wouldn't get paid. You wouldn't have to pay your tax. You know, oh, you can't do that. Yeah, that's, I mean, there's the people, that are wealthy, the people that believe that they are better than we do. They know all of this themselves before they've left school, right? They could like tell you how to actually run entire countries and not pay any tax or anything once they've left school. They learn all of this as they are growing up, and in the family, as well as like they don't go to the ridiculous like like x plus y equals 7. That's it. Well, they don't give a shit about that. What they're on about is how they can actually manipulate the whole population of a certain country so that they all act in a certain way, and then they can control them all and move the wealth to them. That's what they learn. So it's all about like, they're not going to pay tax and we're all going to pay everything, which always has been. And, how to actually, reduce the effectiveness and wealth of the poor to make them poorer, which is happening. This year and next year, you're going to see the biggest wealth transfer in history, or at least in our living history. But away from like the poor to the wealthy. You watch. It's going to be some of the biggest crashes you've ever seen. 2025, 2026, biggest leaps, but biggest drops as well. And all it's doing is transferring the wealth of the poor little people up to the ones that have already got it anyway. And you watch what's happening. And part of that is the accountancy system. We're all here, right? Apparently it's not meant to be a punishment. It just feels like it by accident. But it's like a learning thing, I think. When we're in one of them realms, and the good thing is we're not going to be here forever, and we are going to go to a different realm. Or, you don't have to worry about dying. Don't worry. I'm not saying it's not going to be painful when it happens if somebody's going to do something nasty to you, right? But when you exit and go to another realm, then we don't have to worry about the tax man. We've got away from here, or anything else that's to do with the system, the matrix.
Yeah. So this is one we might finish up this because this could take a bit, but and I saw it on your website as well, and it's asking the bailiffs the following questions, and you give a lot of stuff to be asking, and I think maybe we could kind of correlate it to having a file as well, because a lot of the times you're better off not just trusting your memory. That's having something like this, which you actually give free on your website. And if people are being attacked by these vermin or greys, as we call them, that you go, hey, do you have this? Do you have this? So you might just touch on some of the questions that you should ask them that they really don't have the information, just to protect the people. Because, I mean, there's millions of people going through this, but unfortunately the shame factor kicks in and they just keep their head down and say nothing to nobody, instead of going, hey, I'm experiencing it. Because I reckon if people were able to stand up and go, hey, they're coming after me for this TV license or whatever it is, there'd be a high percentage of the population standing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if it depends on, there's different questions that you can ask about what authority they have, or what it is that they're actually trying to enforce upon you. So if you're talking about like door knockers, for instance, someone who would knock on your door or come and pest you actually in person rather than just like sending you letters, generally that's going to be for things like, well, council tax for starters, and that is a big one. I mean, that's huge, especially sort of like from beginning of April going through to the end of June. I think is the biggest influx of angry people about it. But what you'll get is the likes of Bristow and Suter and Marstons and Rundles and people like that. Now I've just done a video on that, and it's all about the due process that gets missed off. See, what I don't I don't tell people to do anything. Everyone can go do it. Like, I have got no advice for anyone. I don't give anyone advice, legal, financial, or marital. You just get on with it. But, you know, if I was going to be doing things, I would be looking to where is the authority of these people to act. I'm not going to challenge the legality of council tax. It's a waste of time. It's been created by the evil side to try and hammer you down. So you're not going to tell them to stop doing it and let, you know, where's me contract? Doesn't work. You know, where's that? You know, it just doesn't work. What you're going to do is you're banging your head against a brick wall. So I always use the analogy, and it just comes in to go and checkmate the matrix, which is why I keep talking about it. And what is it that we're fighting? We are fighting the Roman Empire, right? So when we were fighting back in the day, thousands of years ago, right, we would all charge up to the Roman centurion army, which was lined up in a big shield wall, and we would throw ourselves against like the shield wall, probably get killed, and you know, and it was just a relentless, endless battle. So what I'm saying is we need to learn more about what they're actually doing and asking for and trying to do, so we can get smarter. And instead of running up and smashing your head, the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of people will do the wrong thing and challenge the council tax, challenge the actual, the legality of it, challenge the contract side of it. It's a waste of time. You know, there's people, all these other groups that are like making lots of money, right? Telling you what to do. You're never going to be successful. And then find a single, and you know, if I'm wrong, then I'm going to go and make tons of videos about how wrong I am. Go and tell me who's been successful at doing that. Find one single case of where they've won by saying they didn't have a contract, or that
because it would end it overnight if they had, because they could just tell people, hey, I've got information that will stop your council tax 100%. You can just use this, and if they charged $100, everyone would be on it, and then people would be after paying for it and would just share it free, and it would be out there. So that's why I totally agree with you on that one.
Yeah. So what you have to do is you have to use, and going back to Snells on equity, you have to look at their equitable side of it and find out all of the breaches that they're doing and their unconscionable actions. Now, combine that with the statute, because they are breaching the statute as well. They're breaking their own rules. So let's go and get the list of it. So you can have the questions, right, of what they're actually doing. So the biggest one, and this is what they'll always lie. And you say, well, where's your authority to act and enforce on this court order? And like, doesn't matter who it is knocking on the door and they're trying to put a clamp on your car, they're trying to tell you they're going to come in and take the goods from you, or even I'm going to put a charge on your property. I've got letters, not to me, but like my members say, we're coming to put you in prison, literally, of a debt collector. Oh yeah, well, you got the authority for that, have you? It's just insanity what these people say. But you just say, well, where is the actual authority for that then? Where's the court order? Because even the council tax need to have a legally executed court order. Doesn't, right now, I've got the book here, right? Council Tax Handbook. Okay, and it tells you in there, this is the 13th edition, it tells you in there that they got rid of the paper version of the liability order on the 1st of October 2003. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It just means they got rid of the paper version. So a lot of people try and argue, oh, they've got rid of it, there can't be a one. No, read it properly and stop listening to the ones that are trying to put you into trouble. You know, they are trying to put you into trouble, you know. They're not trying to help you when they tell you to go and start arguing about your contract, right? Because you haven't got a contract. Because on the Local Government Finance Act 1992, they've given the councils and the magistrates special statutory powers so they can enforce council tax. So you have to actually read those acts and the regulations to find out exactly what they're doing, but more importantly, what they're not doing, because they're not following due process. They're not doing a lot of different things. And right, what they do is they block book it, and everybody knows it. And you get all of the videos that have come in and say, oh yeah, they've hired the court, they've hired the the council have hired a room, and they've got no magistrates there. All right, well, and they just go and bang, 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 stamping them. They put in a book of 1,000 names. And out of that 1,000 names, what they do is they do one signature saying these have got a liability order. right? No due process whatsoever. For every single case, has to be an analysis of is it correct or not. So every individual case, every individual name needs to be done correctly at a proper hearing, and it never is. So what they won't do is put themselves on the line and do a court seal on everyone, because then they go to prison. So what they do is they actually just put one signature on a huge pile of names, and then they try and, well, when it comes to it, and say, well, where's the liability order? They always say, the debt collectors that are trying to clamp your car, well, so where's your authority to clamp the car? Where's the court order? You have to ask the council. But what? So you're coming here to actually do something, right, on the word of somebody else, but you've got no paperwork to actually back. I've got a letter from the council. Really? Right? I mean, that's me, right? Just giving you a ring and saying, look, Roy, the guy around the corner from you, he owes me 50 quid, right? Go and get it off him. And you know, and if he doesn't give you, go smash his windows. You know, it's the same thing, really, though, isn't it? Yeah. And that's all they're doing. So they're saying, oh, but the council told me. Well, where's the proof? Well, the council told me that's the proof. It's not the proof, right? You need to have legal, and it's going back to the public, and it is a public, it's legal. They need to have a proper, valid, legally executed liability order. And if you don't want to call it liability order, call it a court order, and it has to be properly stamped, sealed, or signed by the magistrate. And it never is. And the proof of it is they've got the case law to prove it, not case law, but a case of precedent, which is Leighton versus Bristol, and so that 2023, and it follows that precedent there. Show me your authority to act. And if you haven't got the written authority to act, then I'm taking you to court. But what people do is they shout and scream about it. What you should be doing is you should be filing against them for their unconscionable actions using equity and the actual statute. Go in with double barrel shotgun, equity and statute, and you claim against them. If everybody got to, well, you don't have to get together, but if everybody individually claimed against all of those bailiffs, how long is it before they would go out of business? Because they cannot afford to be in court with like the thousands of people that are in this situation. We're not challenging the council. We're not challenging the council tax. We're not challenging the legality of council tax. We're not challenging the legality of the government to say we have to pay council tax. What we're challenging is their unconscionable actions, the actions that they're trying to do to enforce something that they haven't done correctly. That is what you should be doing. Look at their correct actions. That's the questions you should be asking. And I've created a whole set of equitable, right? So it's got not just on statute, but equitable SARs, subject access requests. So you can get them on the group. So all you got to do is join the group, and it's on there. You can get them all. There isn't a special group you have to pay for. There isn't a special classroom you have to pay for. They're all there. All the videos on how to do it, on the guides on how to use the SCRs to actually use against them to put them into court, using equity and statute for the unconscionable actions. And that's the questions that you can ask when they're actually doing anything like that. You can all do it yourself. Doesn't take a lot. Put them in. You got to have a little bit of, like, you know, bravado about yourself and get them into court. They can't prove that they've got the paperwork when they literally haven't got the paperwork. So you're in the right, and you're gonna smash them. And that's what everybody should be doing, all at the same time. Same as everybody should be challenging them, the facial recognition in the supermarkets, that everybody should also be challenging anything like that that's got these unconscionable collection agents that are banging on your door, because they have not got the authority to do so. And just because they refuse to tell you, right, and people panic, oh, they refused, oh, they said they didn't need it. You want them to refuse. You want them to say that they don't need it, because then you've got it recorded that they're actually telling lies. So you use that against them in court, right? We're not here to send 3,482.5 letters to them to say, stop doing what you're doing, you're a very naughty boy. And then they're going to either ignore you or reply with, oh, shut up, you're an idiot, right? Put your tinfoil hat back on and leave us alone. Stick to the actual facts, right? Equitable and statute facts, what they have done, what they haven't done, more importantly, what they do not possess to actually act with authority, and then you can put them in a position where, like the Leighton versus Bristow and Suda case, you're going to get damages in the thousands. And what happens after that? Do you think they're going to come back and with any kind of court order then after you've just took £4,000, £5,000, £6,000 off them? I don't think so.
No.
Right? So where's the get out? Where's the the win? There you go. Just do it properly and stop doing the nonsense that these people are telling you to do. And challenge the legality of council tax, challenge the authority of the councils, challenge the actual. Forget it. Right? Look at what they're actually doing and attack the actual grievous mistakes and the actual massive breaches of the legality that they're doing. That's how you win. Question their actions, not the actual authority of the government. You're wasting your time. People that challenge the government too loudly have accidents.
No, exactly. And with the file that you were preparing the last time, you were spending a load of times, for the court case and everything. Is that something, because you were talking about creating a course on that or creating something for people to prepare everything properly? Has that been uploaded yet? And is it something that's a paid course, or where are you on that?
But to create the actual whole court bundle, yeah. You can get into the group. There's just all you got to do, go into the group. You get a free trial anyway, a week, and then it's like next to nothing to actually be a member of the group. And you get most of the classrooms. And if there's one in it, like how to create a valid court bundle. Okay, let's face it. Does anybody know how to do that? Not you've got that specialized knowledge. But you can just go and make a donation, go into one of those classrooms, that one, and you learn exactly how to create a court bundle, what it all means, how you put together it, how you actually index it, how you bundle it, how you actually paginate it, how to actually set it all up, and which should go first, second, third, and fourth, and then how to file it properly in a court as well, also with either your defendant or your claimant, depending on what party you are. So yeah, okay, you will have to make a donation to find out the rest of it. But, I tell you what, it's bloody worth it if you're going to go and win yourself 4, 5, 6,000 euros, pounds, whatever it's going to be in damages once you've done it correctly against these pirates.
Exactly. Well, Peter, as always, thoroughly enjoyed it. And I mean, each time we were able to cover so many topics, because like with all the information that you give, what I love is you're aware that there's so many people that they're on their knees, and it's very hard to fight when you're on your knees and you're barely able to put food on the table, and you give so much free content that people definitely need to check out the website. But I commend you on that. I mean, there's very few that do that, and I don't think people. I wish millions would know what you're doing, because there's very few that are actually giving you. Most of them, they're charging thousands for what you're giving for nothing, and they haven't a clue what they're doing. They haven't a clue, and they're actually hurting people, and then they're guiding them to go this way. Of course, when it goes pay ship, they're nowhere to be seen. They're gone, and they're opening company B. So yeah, you might let the listeners know where they can find you. I mean, I'll obviously have the link for the school one, and where they can find the group.
That's really the main one that want to go on to, because go on to you got your link, put that in there for the actual school, so they can go on to get a free trial anyway, and they'll get to see it. And then from there, I mean, to stay in it is next to nothing anyway. And every single week we have a live call every Thursday, and it's very busy. There's a lot, but it's recorded as well, so you can watch it later. It's up there for the whole week, totally free, so they can all listen to what's going on, question and answer. Plus, we go over a special topic. Say, for instance, just what I was talking about there, how to create a bundle. I showed everybody how to do it, for free on the, went through it step by step on the live call. So, everybody can get onto that. You don't have to be any type of level of member. Just get in and go and watch it. So, I mean, to actually have that type of knowledge share live, right, every single week, for what? It's probably the cost of it, probably around less than a cup of coffee. Right. I mean, it's, if you're not doing it, then, you stop drinking coffee. But so just go to the link, Checkmate the Matrix on that channel, school.com, that platform. But go into the link and have a look at it. And I'm telling you, it is. We give so much for free there on there anyway, and it's good, solid knowledge, and everything is proven as well. There isn't like any of these crazy things like go and try and do these mad things or anything like that. We everything on there has been done, and most of what we do as well is using the angle. Right, we're not trying to float off into space and do something crazy. This is what there is actually happening in the courts. That's why we're saying we should be going to court, because this is the way you actually do it. You don't do it on a mad, like hatters running down, like way down. You know what I mean? Right? We're actually showing you how to act as a barrister to actually do these courses and cases inside the court, do it properly. And people are getting like results, wins left, right, and center. Just it's easy to go in and see how happy everybody's getting, because they're either just getting rid of them, which is still great, or some of them chasing them hard enough to get compensation. So yeah, get to the school.com, but like get in that link, in the description. Come along and visit, and you'll not be disappointed.
And I mean, I don't know how many episodes now we've done together, like 10 plus, I'd say. And each time we cover so many different things. So people can go into awakeningpodcast.org and just type Peter Wilson and all the episodes will come up. But one thing that I love about you is there's times I'll ask you something and you say, I don't really know about that, but you're going away and you're writing it. And then you come back to me and you find out about it. Whereas a lot of people, they waffle and they just kind of wing it and they pretend they know everything. As soon as there's something that you're not sure of, you'll say it straight out. And I have so much respect when you do that, because there's so many people out there that they pretend they have everything. And if there's something that's unusual, and you'll go away and you go, that's interesting, I must find that out. And
yeah,
so the stuff that's on your course, I mean, I've learned so much from you, and I know that it's fantastic information.
Even on the live calls, I'm sure it was even just last night, and somebody come up and there was a little comment, because there's, rather than have voices talking and interrupt, there's like little comments come up and I can see them, and I'm like, I'm sure it was last night. I was like, oh, hang on. So I highlighted up there and that's really good, isn't it? So I wrote it down. I'm like, right, I'll find that out. I'll get back to you about that. That's really good, and then we wander off when we do. And most of, I am working on helping. I help so many people, like with their research, legal research. But then if I'm not doing that, I'm doing it on my own. So things like that, when somebody asks me questions I don't know, or like I find out, I'm telling you, I'm gonna get in there though, and I'll just spend hours and hours and hours. I'm up till I have to get to bed about between 10 and 30 because Mouse has got me up at 4 a.m. every bloody morning to get down the beach, which is a dog, by the way, in case.
I don't joke on the Mrs. Mouse.
But I'm up there like sitting there like on the laptop research, which is why we've got all the books, which you said there is an amazing analogy all the time. Yeah, I go in on the research, going down the actual internet route and finding it, but once you've actually got something that you can pick up and say, I need to double cross reference that, and you get the books out and you can actually say to somebody, right, like, or even on the court book, I got the big green book, and then someone says, but on CPR 3.1, and I say, oh, hang on, I'll tell you, and look through it and say, look, there it is, and read it out to them. And they've actually got all of the court rules as well. So, the research is everything. So we leave no stone or page unturned.
Excellent. Yeah. So as always, I'll put the links both on the audio and the video. Thanks very much, Peter.
You're more than welcome. I always enjoyed it.
Yeah. So that's all for the Awakening Podcast. You'll find all our episodes on awakeningpodcast.org. As mentioned, just type Peter Wilson in the search bar and every episode will come up. You find all my 6 podcasts, scan the QR code or go to roycollin.com. If you're looking for a virtual assistant, we've packages from $99. Go to va.world. Sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, share with your friends, because I'm censored a lot and it helps when you share to different groups. Take care.